As you remove the influence of Satan from your life and free yourself from debt, the Blessing Project refocuses you and gives you the tools you need to set Christian priorities in your expenses as indicated by your budget. Now, the debt crisis, the lack of savings, and general lack of financial planning among Americans is generally a matter of discontent. The Christian finds their contentment in their relationship with God. They're not running after the supposed glories of this world. They do not need the thing that everyone else has. They're not trying to keep up with the Joneses. They're content to have a life that's lived in harmony with God's will. In Hebrews chapter 13, verse 5, the Apostle Paul admonishes the believers to remember that their conversation should be without covetousness and be content with such things as ye have. When you're content, the Apostle Paul told the Corinthians in 2 Corinthians 6, verse 10, that you will be sorrowful, yet always rejoicing, as poor and yet making many rich, as having nothing and yet possessing all things. I need you to think about this for a moment. You have two options in life. Option number one is to just live a life that is unfulfilled. This is generally done by people who spend all their time in front of a screen or in social media watching other people live, but they never live themselves. The other group of people says, I will not invest my means in these things. Instead, I'm going to save my money so that I can experience those things. You've got two options in life. Option number one, you can save the money and go to Peru and climb Machu Picchu. Or you can give your money to somebody and then watch while they climb Machu Picchu. Which one are you? There's nothing wrong with wanting good things for yourself and your family. Just save for them. Live the way they did in the old country. If they wanted something, there was no credit. So you saved until you could afford it. If you want it bad enough, and it is that important to you, you will be willing to adjust your budget and save on other things so that you can purchase it. I went to Haiti and I didn't speak the language, and obviously I didn't know the culture. It was my first time there, and I noticed the poorest country in the Western Hemisphere. And of course, even now recently, being devastated by all kinds of natural disasters and things like that. But when I went there the first time was in the year 2000, and not knowing the language, we're driving out of the country. And as we left the capital city of Port-au-Prince, everywhere I went, I noticed these shacks, literally just a few pieces of plywood and a tin roof. But they all had this name on it, bank. Bonk, bonk, bonk. And we're driving in the middle of nowhere and there's this hut, and I'm like, I thought this country was poor, but everywhere I go, there's banks. Is this where people put their money? Well, eventually I mentioned it to the driver, and he started laughing. He says, it's not that kind of bank. It's the word that we use to describe gambling halls where people go and play numbers, right? So they're actually investing. They're showing where the priorities are. And so these poor people in economic despair were being convinced to give away even the little that they had in something that had no purpose. Now, we have to consider what Scripture tells us. If I need something, save for it and purchase it. In Proverbs 21 verse 20, it says, there is treasure to be desired and oil in the dwelling of the wise, but a foolish man spendeth it up. Wise people have plenty left over because they didn't spend all that they made, while fools spend all that they make and sometimes even beyond what they make. We live in an advertising culture, but what is advertised to us? How many rice and potato commercials have you seen? When was the last time you saw a billboard, a TV commercial, online ad, or a radio ad for rice? Buy more rice. Listen to our rice jingle. Hey, look, there's a famous athlete holding a bag of rice. When was the last time you saw that? You've never seen that. Why? Because you know that you need rice, and you're just going to buy rice. When something's advertised to us, It's because they're things that we have to be convinced that we need. Because on our own, we wouldn't have a desire for this thing. Whenever something's presented to you in advertising, you should take a long time to consider if you actually need this thing. And also, why are they trying to convince you to get this? You need to make a choice with your spending. You're going to determine your priorities by the expenses in your budget. God's people are instructed in 1 John 2:15 to love not the world, neither the things that are in the world. If any man love the world, the love of the Father is not in him. Do you spend on things that you don't need? Don't spend on things that have no actual benefit to you. I know what you're saying, but David, it's on sale. It's on sale. Okay, think about this. If it was a $20 item and now it's a $15 item, but you don't actually need the item, you're still losing $15. Okay, so you didn't lose $20, but you're still losing $15. You need to learn to not only stay within your budget in order to have any chance of financial success, but also spend within your budget that which is appropriate and for your good. Definitely spending less than you generate in income. It also means that you should not spend on that which is not profitable at all. Isaiah 55 verse 2 gives us this lasting principle. Wherefore do you spend money for that which is not bread, and your labor for that which satisfieth not? Hearken diligently unto me, and eat ye that which is good, and let your soul delight itself in fatness.